Oklahoma's #1 high school streaming service, Skordle.tv. Find out more at Skordle.com/stream.
Hello and welcome to the first ever bracket release show from the Sports Animal and Skordle. I'm Mark Rodgers along with Tom and Nelson. We're going to be hanging out with you for the next hour or so and giving you all the updated scores that are going on tonight around the state. Most of the action happened across Oklahoma last night. So we have a lot of the brackets that are finalized, and then we have some that we are updating as we speak. A score just went final in Class 5A for the district championship between Elgin and Midwest City. That game was won by the Bombers on the road in Southwest Oklahoma. So Midwest City claims the district championship in Class 5A1. It's going to be really simple tonight. All you have to do is watch, and we will take your questions. If you have questions about certain games, comment in the live stream, and we'll go over those. Tom Nelson joining us from Skordle tonight. Tom, good to see you.
Great to be on board with you tonight. And I'll tell you what, the weather kind of helped us out. Get as many games out of the way last night as possible. Gives us a chance to get the brackets put together, but still a few big games tonight as well. We're going to get those scores to you as we go.
Yeah, we'll break down each of the brackets and take a look at some of the matchups that will be coming in the next few rounds. Brad Ballard is going to join us from Tuttle. His team won the district championship last night. We'll talk to him here off the top of the show. And then we will also visit with Coach Kayot from OBA. That's been a heck of a year for the Crusaders there as they win their district championship, go perfect 10-0 this season. And I believe we're going to talk with Brian Severin of Timberlake, longtime coach, the defending state champion Tigers there. And he has been out for a little bit. Yeah. And so it's good to see that he's back and doing well.
Yeah, Coach Severin has been, well, he was going to be in the booth this week. I don't know how much coaching he's doing, as he had heart surgery about a month ago, but they couldn't keep him down long. They named the stadium after him a couple of years ago. He's not going anywhere anytime soon, and he's got a team that could possibly repeat and win their state championship in Class C.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. We got to give a shout out to Adam and the guys that are camping out tonight in Fairview. That's quite a setup that they've got. They're watching out from out there.
It's 38 degrees and overcast and wet and miserable. I'm glad I'm here with you. I'm really glad I'm here with you, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds good. Some of the scores that we are waiting on tonight that will impact games in the bracket. Newkirk and Hennessy. Those are a couple of Skordle schools that are playing in Class 2A. That one late was Hennessy on top of Newkirk 22-14. I think Newkirk had the ball and driving. The winner of that game is going to be third in their district. Holland Hall is at J tonight, taking on the Bulldogs. 19-8. Holland Hall had the lead at halftime. That game is to see Jay would have to win to potentially get into the playoffs. Another big game in Class 2A tonight. We really want to say our thoughts and prayers are with the people at Idabel tonight. They had a terrible tornado go through their town. They're playing for the district championship tonight at Eufaula. And so we wish the people of Idabel safety and hope that everybody is okay there. I know there have been some injuries, and a tornado went right through the middle of their town. But that game was 7-7 at half. The winner of that game is a district champion in Class 2A. And I think both those teams are pretty good. Idabel has really had a nice season this year, lost to Broken Bow, and I think lost a game to Foreman, Arkansas. And that's been it so far this season.
Can you imagine that situation, knowing what's going on back home and trying to focus on the road? All your fans are with you, and trying to focus what's going on, a big ball game, but something more important going on back home with the tragedy. And we do. Our prayers are with you in Idabel tonight down in Southeast Oklahoma. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be any way that we could really there would be no focusing there, and that would be very difficult to do. There are a ton of games going on in Class B tonight. A lot of games in Northwest Oklahoma that weren't moved because the weather wasn't quite as big of a threat at that point. So those we'll get some games plugged in as we go. Big win for Hollis, it looks like tonight, as they knocked off Turpin, a Turpin team that was undefeated until a couple of weeks ago, that now are going to have to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, that was a big upset. Another game in that district in B1 tonight. Laverne, no trouble with Balco Forgan, another BF, 54-8, the final score there. So Laverne's going to be the number 1 seed, and they're at the top of that bracket. And as we break down these brackets later on, I really like Laverne's road to get back to at least the Final Four and possibly playing for a state championship.
They're pretty good. I see we got Bill Hasten backstage. Let's bring him on if we can and talk to him for just a couple of minutes. There's Bill. What's going on, Bill?
Jump on in there.
Are you lifting some weights?
Well, it's now or never on a workout today, so I thought I should listen to Mark's show, and then here you and I corresponded, and here I am. So
we won't keep you long. Hey, what happened last night? That was a stunner.
Wow.
I mean, I thought maybe potentially it would have been that Bixby was giving some kids some rest, but that wasn't the case at all. I really love the way that Ike Owens played. I'm happy for him because he had a tough situation that he had to kind of persevere through after being replaced last year. But man, the Jinx kids looked like they just wanted that game desperately.
Mark, I got to tell you, when the game started with Bixby getting 2 3-and-outs, that was an upset to me. It's like, wow, okay. I mean, you just never see that. So, but Barry Lewis and I watched that game. We covered that game from an office in the north end zone, right? Because, Bixby's got a 6A1 program and a 3A press box. So it was so jam-packed. We worked out of, full disclosure, we worked out of the athletic director's office. So we had the end zone view of everything, which is the best way to watch football, to be honest. And I'm telling you, the reason Jinx won that game was its offensive line, the dominance, the consistency with which it created big lanes, especially on the left side of the offense. And, Jinx rushes for 357, averages 10 yards per attempt against the defense that hadn't given up anything on the ground all year. It was really a stunning, and it was the first time too that anybody has matched Bixby's physicality. So if you have gone years without somebody being at that level with you, Mark, and then all of a sudden you're confronted with that, it's got to be a shock to your system, right? So, but massive respect to Bixby for not quitting. Obviously they didn't quit, but for not, for coming back the way they did. Massive respect to Jinx for recovering an unbelievable fumble recovery at the 1-yard line at a key moment. An offensive lineman falling down on top of 2 onside kicks at crunch time. And it was, it just 58-game streak ends. Couldn't believe how good Jinx was, considering at midseason, Mark, they were against legitimate opponents by midseason. Jinx was averaging 16 points a game, right? And then here the last month or so, they're averaging 40 plus. And Ike Owens has played really well. His last 5 quarters, he's been unbelievable. So now we go into the 6A1 postseason, and I really believe it is an exactly equal 3-horse race with Union, Bixby, and Jinx. I still kind of expect Bixby to recover from this and win the 6A1 championship, but wow, the 6A1 postseason, in my mind anyway, doubled in intrigue with the result last night.
Do you think, is there any chance it was just a little bit of an off night for Bixby on defense, or perhaps maybe the game was on ESPN2 and they read their press clippings? And I know they've been so consistent, but and how does Union figure into this? Because they're undefeated and they've played really well all year. And so you think it's a toss-up, a 3-team toss-up right now, or would you still think Bixby going in?
No, I do. Although I will say this for Union, they have the one player, if there's any one player in the tournament, Mark, I would say is the best player with regard to winning a championship, it's Union and Shaker Rising, who was completing 74% going into last night. And then last night completed 23 of 29 with 6 touchdowns against Edmond North. So I think Shaker Rising is the best championship piece of the 6A1 bracket. But you say, how could Jinx be considered to be on that level when Jinx lost 38-3 to Jinx in September? To Union in September, and you say, well, that crazy series has a long history of, one team winning in the regular season and the other team coming back in the postseason, or typically in the championship game to win. Jinx right now is suddenly a really hot team. Ike Owens is playing better than he's ever played. They've gotten most of their injured guys back after they were the most chewed up by injury team I've ever seen in my life. Union is just coasting and rolling and just smashing people. And Bixby, I just can't believe that suddenly everybody solved Bixby and that they're going to suddenly be very beatable. I just think they had a really bad night with their front seven. Some of their tackling was pretty shoddy, and Jinx's offensive line controlled that game. So, we'll see how it all shakes out. But it would be hard for me to put $1 on any one of the teams to say definitively this is your team. I think it's a 3-horse race for the first time in a long time. To have three that could win it.
As I was watching that game down the stretch last night on ESPN2, Bixby took, Jinx's shot, and you wondered how they would respond because they've not been in that position for a long time. And they did. They responded well. You thought they might rise up and figure out a way to win that ball game. They almost did. Hey,
Tom, check this stat out. They hadn't even trailed by as many as 10 points since September of 2020. So, yeah, most of the kids on that varsity roster had never known what it felt like to be down 10 points in a football game. So, they responded in a mostly pretty good way. But Jinx just never, Jinx never. There was a 5-minute period in the third quarter, guys, during which Jinx just dominated, and there were 3 run plays during that stretch: 2 by Carroll, 1 by Owens. 3 run plays that netted 199 yards. And to see that somebody do that to Bixby was mind-blowing to me. And so, and that was I believe that's the first time that combination of 5 guys had started together up front for Jinx. And I asked Keith Riggs today, well, is that your 5 going forward? And he laughed and said, yeah, I think so. So that's a big group too. And, if they feel like if they're healthy now and they feel like they've got the right guys at the right spots up front with Jaden Carroll, Jalen Stanford, and now Ike Owens being used as he's being used in the run game the last 2 games. Ike Owens averaged 14.5 yards per attempt last night. So, and it wasn't really just skewed by a couple of big ones. He consistently got positive yards. So I was, as an event goes, it was right there. It was like a bedlam. Well, bedlam is typically, obviously you never had the 50-50 split on a crowd, but it was definitely bedlam electricity. It was OU Texas intensity with regard to the 50-50 split on fans. That place seats about 6,500. It felt like there were 10,000 in there. So yeah, I thought it was a great night for Oklahoma high school football. And a lot of those games on ESPN are really one-sided. I watched Denton Geyer and Allen a couple of weeks ago, and that was a blowout. And, a couple of marquee names, but not a very good game. Well, this was beyond expectations, whatever the expectations were. My expectation, I told Keith Riggs today, I said, crap, I thought Bixby would win. He said a lot of people did. Most people did. But Jinx showed up, and it just was just an emphatic reminder that you don't underestimate Jinx. If you do, you're a fool.
Hey, Bill, we'll let you get back to the treadmill. I've taken a hard stance in my life against people that sprint on the treadmill. So keep that thing at about 6.5 or 7 at the most. Okay, you can hurt yourself and others.
No, it's just, if you blow it off, then you blow it off again tomorrow, and then you start developing a bad habit of blowing it off. So I'm in here watching Giannis beat up on the Timberwolves and getting ready for a great day of football and high school basketball tomorrow. You're doing it. I'm doing it too. There's 32 teams at Broken Arrow High School tomorrow and several big time recruits. So I'm going to go watch a little bit of those scrimmages tomorrow. But no, last night was epic. One of the most memorable football events I've covered, maybe ever. But can't believe the streak's over. And now Laura Montgomery has something to work with on the practice field.
Thanks, Bill, for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, guys. See you, Tom.
Take it easy.
Very good. We got Brad Ballard here momentarily, and we will bring him in. And see if we can see his good looking mug on a camera. If not, we can just talk to him. Right now, he's got the egg up there.
I'm sorry, man.
You're good. You're good. Hey, we'll put the 4A bracket up here in a second, but congratulations. You guys win the district championship last night. You beat Classen, and then you must have been on pins and needles watching what was going on in that Bethany-Newcastle game. You had a challenge with the Racers the week before, and that one went into double overtime, and the points fell right, and you guys emerged out of that three-way tie.
Man, what an exciting time. We had a little bit of a running clock in our game, so we were back into the locker room fairly quickly, and our coaches and players, of course, found a way to watch it, and I didn't particularly watch it. I sat in my office and listened to all of them raise cane, so it was exciting. We felt like the only thing we could do was try to max out on points and take care of our end, and from that point on, our destiny really was in someone else's hands. So I'm happy for our kids. What an exciting time for them. Being the district champion is very special. And, this time of year is just so much fun. And you wish every kid in the state of Oklahoma got to experience things like this. And we're real fortunate at Tuttle where we've gotten to do that in the past, and we get to do it again this year. So everybody's excited. We're ready to go. And very thankful that we played last night. It's not very nice outside right now.
No, not at all. One more, and then Tom, I'll let you go with one here. You guys host Chickasha. It's a team you're familiar with, not very far away. You had them in the first round of the playoffs a couple of years ago. So the two communities are kind of close. And then you got to wait a little bit to see what happens tomorrow between Ada and Broken Bow to figure out who you might potentially face in the second round with a victory. But what do you know about Chickasha?
I know they have a very good running back and a lot of talent all over the field, much improved. Entirely new staff this year, and seems to have created a lot of excitement. What I've seen of them on film so far, I think they're very talented in a lot of positions. They play extremely hard. And just like we're talking about this with our team today was, at this point, everyone that is left is either hot or they've got a really good body of work throughout the season. There's no one left that's going to lay down or fall down. The people that are left are in it for the fight. So we expect nothing different from them.
Coach, we've had a lot of fun watching from afar what's been going on in 4A2 this year, and talk about, the toughness of that district and the dogfight that it has been. And you're on a bit of a roll right now to finish the season, how that gets you ready for the playoffs.
That's a great point. It's an unbelievable district. If you talk to Coach Craig over at Blanchard, he and I have had this conversation many times. So, gosh, us, Bethany, Blanchard, Newcastle, everybody was right there in the fight. I think everything came down to in our case with Blanchard, we got beat with 2 seconds left on the clock, and we had to hang on in the last minute versus Bethany, and then the Newcastle game, we scored with 1:35 left to win it. So everything has been competitive, and that bodes well for us in the future. I don't think competition will surprise us. I don't think toughness will surprise us. We've had to play 4 quarters several times, and it's not like that for everyone. So we feel like we're battle tested. You can't get too up and you can't get too down. We have to stay very even keeled and very workmanlike each week. And our kids have done an extremely good job of that. But this is where all the real fun starts. So we're really excited about this. I'm glad we get a chance to play at home. Friday nights in Tuttle, Oklahoma are special. And we're excited to get to do that again.
Yeah, it's a great environment out there. I always have a great time when I go see a game in Tuttle. The community rallies out and really good across the board. Brad's got to really keep the bar high in football to compete with the girls basketball team and the baseball team and everything else out there. You've got a nice mix, Brad, of an experienced quarterback and some youth on your team, some young kids that are running the ball for you. Give us the names of some of the kids that are performing well for you.
Well, that's exactly right. We only had 3 returning starters on each side of the ball coming into this year. So a lot of competition for positions. We've played 5 or 6 different running backs all year. Brady McAdoo was a name that you heard early in the season, a sophomore running back for us. And Brady suffered a little bit of an injury early and trying to work his way back. We've been playing a freshman named Sean Rounsaville that's had 2 100-yard rushing games the past 2 weeks, had 110 against Newcastle last week. And then another sophomore named Luke Falwell that's been just a bigger, more punishing runner for us. But I think the strength of us right now is just the team. I think we have a lot of good pieces, a lot of role players, a lot of guys that don't mind playing a role. And sometimes that's a unique thing these days. But our offensive line's been functioning pretty well as a group. Those guys have done a great job. You know, we returned a starter, Jace Warren at center there, and Jackson Pishoff at left guard, Cole Owen at left tackle. Right guard, Tandon White has been starting the last couple of weeks, and Ian Vickers and Cody Abston out at right tackle, rotate time. Mason Dennis, our quarterback, was 13-1 last year as a starter, and we returned him, and he's done exceptionally well this year. He's had several turnovers here and there, but much improved from a year ago. He's been really good for us in big spots and actually run the ball several times to pick up a big first down. And some of my favorite plays are the ones he throws away and we get to go to second down, So he's really grown up, been a good leader for us. It's just a team thing, Mark. You've been around us and you know that. We haven't been blessed with a great amount of Division I guys around here. Some linemen, yes, but skilled guys, it's usually by committee, and it will take every one of us to win a game, and we're going to use every one of them to try to win a game. So, man, it's fun. It's fun. You talk about guys like Mark Douglas and Major Sharp and Weston Grounds. You just never know who it's going to be. Noah McDoulet. Whoever's turn it is that night, you better be ready. So hopefully we make the other team defend the entire field, and hopefully we can get the ball to everyone on our offense. So,
Brad, I appreciate you joining us on a Friday night, and best of luck throughout the playoffs. We'll check in again with you soon, and we'll see you on down the road.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate your time. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
you bet.
Tuttle Tigers win the district championship. Let's put up the 6A Division I bracket here for a minute. We'll take a look at that, and we'll go over that. I think that it's interesting. I know Jinx played a great game last night. I know they scored 90 points against Southmore, but in between those games, they had a really tough one with Broken Arrow, and Norman North's got victories over Broken Arrow and Jinx. So I appreciate Bill, and I know how good he is at what he does, and he's the best that covers football up there at Tulsa. It's just amazing that, and I trust him. But I think Norman North has got a shot to be competitive, potentially against Union. Tom, what do you see in this? I'm still picking Bixby. I would say that. But I think Bixby in the finals. I think it's probably a Bixby Union final. But I do think that Mustang and Norman North will have a chance to be competitive.
Yeah, you've got to figure that, Bixby with the loss last night just makes them mad. And they're going to, they won't be looking past anybody now. And you look on that on the right side of the bracket, as you see right there. That's right. Norman North, I saw a little bit of them last night. Against Enid, and they look pretty good from what I saw. But yeah, Union off the top of that, it's those Tulsa schools until the West Side shows they can compete. It's going to be like he said, one of those three. I think it'll be Union from the right side of the bracket. And boy, I tell you what, Bixby Jinx in that state semifinal, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that would be an incredible game. Let's look at 6A Division II. 4 teams have really stood out in this one, and they're the ones that have received byes. Stillwater wins at Muskogee last night in a really good game. Deer Creek and Choctaw played earlier in the season in a game that I called for Skordle. I was really impressed with Choctaw that night. They kind of took what Deer Creek gave them, which was running the football. So that's a diverse team there. I'd hate to have to pick a winner in this. I think that I think it's Stillwater and Choctaw probably in the finals. Could be Deer Creek and Choctaw in the finals. Choctaw won its first district championship in I don't know how long this year. So give credit to the Yellow Jackets there. But Tom, what do you see in 6A2?
Well, you take a look at the bracket and you've got 5 ranked teams on the top side, 5 on the bottom, but you got number 1 still at the top. And that semifinal matchup, Stillwater and Deer Creek is kind of what I'm looking at there. Keep in mind, Booker T. Washington, when you think about the only team in 6A2 this year that has a state championship in 6A2, because Bixby won it every other year. But Booker T. Washington, they have that gold ball in 6A too. And not saying they're going to win it this year, but Stillwater, Deer Creek in the semifinals on the left side of the bracket. And you're right, boy, Choctaw, they've been playing really well. And boy, Muskogee, I think that they're going to, keep this thing rolling. They've really had a great season with the Roughers over in Muskogee, and they're going to get the bye. Those two teams that get the bye, they've got a pretty good advantage there, and I think you will see those top two seeds on each side of the bracket move to the semifinals. And yeah, I would say Stillwater. You know what? I think it might be Stillwater Muskogee for a rematch for the state championship.
Anita Custer said, "Don't count Muskogee out," so we appreciate her checking in. I would say in that class, give a little bit of credit to Ponca City. That's hosting a game at Sullivan Stadium. They haven't had a home playoff game in a long, long time, and they've had a pretty good year this year. But I do think that the teams that have the byes are going to be the teams that are really tough to beat. Let's look at Class 5A.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Let me talk about. You mentioned Ponca City. Everybody made the playoffs for the most part in 2020 during COVID, but they've not made the playoffs since 2005. Before that, they're 5-5 this year. They haven't had a winning season in about 10 or 15 years. So yeah, give Pohai a little bit of credit. It's nice to see them in the playoffs.
Scott Harmon there as the coach. Okay, we had one game tonight to be determined in this bracket in Class 5A. It was Midwest City scoring late to beat Elgin 23-21. The Owls have had an unbelievable year, and so the Midwest City Bombers are at the top of that bracket against Piedmont. Elgin goes down at the bottom of that bracket. They will host Guthrie, and this bracket is a bear. Man, is it tough. Collinsville and McAllister played for the state championship last year. That's a first-round matchup this year. Collinsville's only lost one game the entire season. They're 9-1. McAllister lost to Sapulpa and lost one to Coweta, which everybody's lost to Coweta that's played them so far this year. So, I'm seeing a Coweta-Bishop McGinnis matchup in the second round that could be a state championship type game. A Carl Albert Del City potential matchup in the second round that could be a state championship game. So this bracket is loaded and very difficult.
I totally agree. And you take a look at, you've got Carl Albert there. They've been there, 5 straight state championships between 2016 and 2020. Then Collinsville, the state champion a year ago. And CA's right there at the top of the right side of the bracket, the winner of District 2. How about Grove? How about Grove as well? They've had a great season down there on the right side of that bracket. There is so much talent there. Del City, Collinsville, number 2 in District 4. You know what? I'm going to go. I like Tim Harper. He's a friend of mine over at Coweta. Knew him from when he was in Arkansas. And I like Coweta. And they've been playing really, really well. We were talking earlier, a couple, 3 weeks ago, that they've been about as dominant in 5A at times as Bixby has been in 6A. So I kind of like Coweta to win the state championship.
Well, I think it's going to be there's no way I'm going to pick a winner tonight in this bracket. I think it's there's so many ways it could go. Emmanuel Crawford set a Class 5A rushing record at Grove last night. He's been a great player. So that bracket's going to be fun to watch. We'll take a quick look at 4A, then we'll take a break. We've got a couple of guests coming up here, Coach Kayot from OBA and Coach Severin from Timberlake in the 8-man ranks, and we'll look through some of those as we go forward. Cushing, dominant so far this season. They're 10-0. Offense behind Blaze Browitz, quarterback, has been sensational. I think really they have been maybe as dominant or more dominant than anyone. Bixby maybe in the regular season before they lost to Jinx, but this Cushing team is putting up a ton of points, not giving up many, but this bracket will be tough. I think Tuttle will have something to say about it. These second-round matchups will be really close. Elk City is a very physical football team that beat Cushing in the playoffs last year. They're a district champion, so this bracket will have a lot of competitive games.
I tell you what, I'm looking for a couple weeks down the road is if Cushing and Blanchard, get past their first round games, which you would expect they'll, Cushing and Blanchard, they're going to play each other in the second round. What a great game, that could be. Elk City at the top of that bracket. I think they're going to have a tough one against, Newcastle, pretty darn good 4 seed on the right side of the bracket. Clinton's your defending state champion. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And you look at what Bethany did last night. That win last night, double overtime over Newcastle, 32-31. Cal Witwiska, Jaden Gilliland, a little 2-point conversion in overtime on the pass completion to get the win. And like I said, I love that district. There's been so much fun watching what's been going on in 4A2. But yeah, I think once again it's going to come down to you look at semifinal action. Cushing playing very, very well. They might take on a team at Elk City at the top of that bracket. We'll see what they could do. Ranked number 6 in the poll last week before this week, and then the bottom side of those top seeds. Tuttle I think is going to be in that mix. I don't know a whole lot about Hilldale, but they won District 4, and you can't that Clinton Bethany game next week is going to be a darn good ball game as well.
Let's take a look at the Class 3A bracket, and then we'll take a quick timeout. We'll talk to a couple of our other guests. This one will be interesting. There's one game going on tonight, and it is Holland Hall over Jay. And that Holland Hall Lincoln Christian is a rematch of the 2-time state championship game of the past couple of seasons that went the way of Holland Hall. Those teams opened up the season against each other this year, and Lincoln Christian hammered the Dutch. But Holland Hall's bounced back and played really well in district play here. Heritage Hall and Lincoln had a battle last year in the semifinals that I'm sure Heritage Hall would like another shot at. But this is to me, I like Lincoln in this bracket. Metro Christian is also pretty good, but this is kind of the domain of those private schools.
You talk about Holland Hall. I broadcast that game a year ago, that state championship game, that Lincoln Christian Holland Hall game, and the Hall, they started off 0-5. I take it back, 0-3, I think. They finished 4-2 in the district, and they get that win tonight over Jay. They were ahead last night. I don't think we've got a final on that game yet, but they're always dangerous because they know how to win ball games. So Heritage Hall, the top of that on the right side of the bracket, they're always tough. Anadarko, we saw them losing to Kingfisher this week, slip into that 4 spot. I like a team like Perkins Tryon as well, number 2 in District 1 down there at the bottom. They've had a pretty good year kind of in my area that I pay attention to. But I think Metro and Lincoln Christian, they're going to play each other in the semifinals if they can get that far. And that could be a state championship game right there.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to have a couple more coaches visit the show. Today, we'll look at the brackets from Class 2A, Class A, Class B, and Class C as the finals roll in from tonight. And we appreciate you tuning into the first ever Sports Animals Skordle bracket release show. If I could talk.
Stream with Oklahoma's #1 high school streaming service, Skordle.tv. Find out more at Skordle.com/stream.
All right, welcome back. Mark Rodgers, Tom Nelson here, taking you through the brackets from Class 6A all the way down to Class C. And we will have who's coming on with us first, Coach Kayat or Coach Severin?
I am not too sure.
Okay, all right. We'll text one of them and make sure that they are set to join. Coming on here in a few minutes. Let's take a look at the 2A bracket.
Well, I tell you, look at the right side of the bracket. The right side of the bracket is loaded. You've got 4 of the top 5 teams in the state on the right side of the bracket, and boy, it's going to be a dogfight to get to the semifinals. Get to the quarterfinals. It's going to be great matchups on the right side of that bracket. Washington, of course, the #1 seed, the team that I picked to win it back in the preseason. But then you've got 2 Rejoice Christian and they could end up playing in the quarterfinals if Rejoice and Washington get that, make their way through the first couple of rounds. Jones, after their slow start, they've come roaring back in district play. That's a tough district the tough bracket on the right side of that Class 2A bracket.
This bracket is always incredibly difficult, right? There's just so many teams in it. You've got the bracket of 32 teams, and anything can happen. At the beginning of the season, I would have thought that it was Washington and Rejoice Christian. I still think that Rejoice Christian has probably had the better of the regular season between those teams. They've been dominant this year. Lost their quarterback, Chance Wilson, and then Marley came in. Coach Marley's son came in and played really well for them. So I think that they've shown that they've got some depth there. Millwood is a team that I think is absolutely loaded. They have kids out from the basketball team that had never played football before. Jaden Nickens has already got offers from Power 5 schools, and he only just played football for one season. So that tells you a little bit about how good that they are. So I think that there are a lot of teams that can do really well on this, and there's some great first round matchups. When you look at a team like Beggs, that was highly rated at the beginning of the season, and they struggled a little bit with injuries and some different things, but they go on the road to play a district champion in the first round. That's no easy task for a really, really good team in 2A8 and Regent Prep, Rejoice, who beat them earlier in the season. So there's going to be some fantastic matchups in here.
I want to go back to the left side of the bracket, the Millwood Crossings game. I saw Millwood last week play at Hennessy. It was a ball game that Hennessy did about everything right in the first half of that game, led 22-16 at halftime. Millwood came roaring out in the second half, ended up scoring 42 straight in the second half to win big. But Crossings, I think this could be an interesting matchup. I think Crossings might be able to hang with Millwood. Silas Ward had a school record 5 touchdowns last night. They hammered Kellyville 51-7, had 235 yards rushing. Crossings has won 5 straight ball games. I really think I don't know if I'm going to call for the upset, but I think that Crossings is going to give Millwood everything they need in this one.
Crossings, I've seen both of those teams play. Not seen Millwood play. I've seen Crossings play this year. They're really physical. They've got to stay in the game. Like if they get behind, I think that it's going to be really difficult for them to throw the football, especially against Millwood. So hanging in that game and staying in touch is the most important thing for them.
What are some teams over on the east side that could compete in 2A? I mean, you look, Kiefer's ranked 6th. Vianne's over there ranked 4. Of course, Vianne, what a tough place to go play. Had a chance to broadcast a game down there a few years ago. They're at the top of the district. They're on the right side. So you wonder who's going to, who from the east can compete.
Yeah, it's an interesting question from the east. I would say that, there's a lot to say about Ida Bell. Oh, Lugnut. What up, Lugnut? He says Millwood big in that game. Ida Bell's got a really, really good young running back that I think will be tough to stop. Sequoia Claremore was a big surprise team for me this season that they were able to play as well as they were. That's a really good second-round matchup there. Victory Christian was able to win that district, and I think that they've got a pretty good path to me to the semifinals on that side of things. Veneta dropped down from Class 3A. You mentioned Jones, and I saw them play Chandler. They've got a quarterback that's really an up-and-comer that can throw the football. I like him a lot. They're physical up front. It's a really good defense. But Washington and Rejoice Christian just happen to be on the same side of the bracket, man. That's going to be one of those that's a third-round matchup that could be absolutely the state championship game.
Yeah, to me, Jones, scheduling up in the non-district and taking their lumps, I think that they could make a run in the postseason, which is exactly what they expected to do when they were taking those lumps against those good teams back in August and September.
Okay, let's take a look at the Class A bracket, and there are a few games in here that I think we'll need to potentially fill out. Another bracket that these teams spread out all over the state. Hard to tell, who's going to do what. If you look at the top of the left, you got Fairview, state championship caliber team for sure. You look at the middle of the left, you got Ringling. Another team that is definitely a state championship team, and they'll be playing the team they faced in the championship a year ago in Cashin. Down at the bottom of the bracket, Tonkawa, clearly a team that can play for a state championship. Colcord is very good this year. I don't know that they've even lost a game this season, so that's a really good second-round matchup. Over here on the other side of the bracket, you got Crescent coming up. That's really good. Also, Hominy, that's been outstanding this year. And I believe we're going to talk with Coach Fisher from Crescent as well coming up. And the Tigers of Crescent got a big win, and they're a team with a great defense that are going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I had a chance to see Tonkawa a couple of weeks ago. Big physical team. They like to run the football. I'm interested to see what kind of run Fairview could make up here in the Enid area where I'm from. And I had a chance to see them this year, but they were good last year, brought a lot back. I'm interested in the Ringling Cashin matchup. They have split championship games. In 21, Cashin won 21-14. Back in 19, Ringling won it 20-14. This is the worst regular season record in Cashin since 2004. But Coach Shack is going to have them ready, especially they get a chance to hang a scalp, get to beat a really, really number one ranked team in Ringling. If I'm Ringling, I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think that I would pick them to win the ball game. If I'm what I may do on the Pick'em show this week. But boy, Cashin can be darn scary, especially when they're used to playing in the playoffs and used to hanging W's in the playoffs as well.
Well, I like Fairview. I think Fairview on this side of the bracket, a Fairview Ringling game would be a semifinal that I could easily see. On the opposite side of the bracket, I think probably to me, it could really be anything. It could be Wynnewood. I'm not Wynnewood. Hominy, I think, has got a good chance in there. Wynnewood's had a good season. I think they can win their first round matchup against Miko. That'll be a tough game. Miko's playing really, really well right now. Gore, undefeated. And from the east side of the state will be interesting to see.
And we might get a chance to talk to J.L. Fisher from Crescent. But, boy, they had their big rivalry game last night, the War on 74 against Cash, and had a chance to watch that on Skordle. They're down 21-20 with about 3 or 4 minutes to go in the ball game. They're staring down 4th and 10 at the Cashin 20-yard line. And boom, Cade Varner to C.J. Wilson, 20-yard touchdown pass on 4th and 10, and that gave them the lead. They hang on to win that one 28-21. Only the second time that they have beaten Cashin in the recent history of this rivalry. And the thing is, they needed that win because they win the district number 1 seed. If they would have lost, they were going on the road as a 4 seed to Ringling.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. That district was so up in the air, and it was a district with only 5 teams this year. So, or 6 teams. I'm sorry, they had 2 drop out. Oklahoma Christian Academy dropped out of that district. So it was a strange district this year. Pioneer was also supposed to play in it, and then they went back to the 8-man ranks. So, okay, I think we're going to talk with Chris K out here momentarily, and hopefully we'll have him join. There he is.
There he is.
Hello.
Hey, Coach,
congratulations.
I had a chance to go out to Commitment Field tonight and watch a little bit of your ball game before I got cold and went home because I'm old. But I did grab me a walking taco before I left Commitment Field. But looked good tonight, awesome. 48-0 over Pond Creek Hunter. And I tell you what, Judd Cheatham, I've been talking about him all year long. I think he had at least 3 touchdowns for you tonight. As a K-State fan and his size, I kind of compared him to a Deuce Vaughn because he is shifty as hell.
Yeah, Judd does a great job. Biggest thing about Judd, and he showed it several times on some runs, is he's small and guys try to get a big shot on him or whatever, but he's in the weight room as much as anybody in our program. So he is a strong little dude. He gets after you. And, in fact, he'll be mad at me for calling him little dude.
Hey, Chris, you guys were out of the association last year and then got back in this season. How did that year away help you all regroup and get to the point where you've had such a successful season this year?
We were just blessed. I mean, we were in a situation last summer ago that our numbers had gotten so low, and we've always competed even in Class A and in some really good districts, over here in Western Oklahoma, and just not had enough linemen. I mean, we just struggle with it all the time. And so we got to the point during that summer where we had lost some kids and got a few hurt. So we had to make a decision. And, it was tough on our seniors last year, knowing that we couldn't go to the playoffs because we'd been on a playoff streak, which is a big deal for us around here. And but they were awesome. And we had a crazy year, traveled all over the place to basically learn how to play 8-man football. Took a few lumps and learned a lot.
I watched the game tonight up at the top of the stands with Bodie Boyston's dad and another player who has just been amazing for you this year. He doesn't look like a quarterback who plays Class B football. He is a big dude, linebacker on the defensive side of the ball. Looks more like a linebacker than a quarterback, but boy, that kid's a stud.
Yeah, Bodie's another one that works extremely hard. Had Bodie in class. He's a very intelligent guy. I'll be honest, he was one of those kids because he wants to go on and play college football that was a little, he was a little hesitant about playing 8-man football. And now, man, he's just thrived. He loves it. He still reads defenses like he did and when he was playing for us in 11-man. He runs the ball well. He's just a great leader.
What are his opportunities right now?
He's talked to several different places. UCO has actually offered him. And honestly, like, Tom said, he's pretty big, 6'4", 210, 215, and athletic and aggressive. So they've talked to him about, maybe not even playing quarterback, maybe playing tight end or maybe playing on the defensive side of the ball. But yeah, his dad played a little college football. His dad is a veteran, and an awesome 11 tours of duty veteran. So wow. That's on my mind because we had military appreciation night. Tom, you got to see that. Pretty cool for us. But anyway, yeah, they're those two kids make us go. Really, offensively, we've had so many kids step up. I mean, we're still not very big. We're still we just kind of overachieve.
What's my favorite nickname on the team? The Jake Hammer.
The Jake Hammer, yeah.
Jacob
Colby has really stepped up. We only have 4 seniors, but those 4 guys are just really doing a great job for us.
How big, and this is the game that I called on Skordle early this year at Ceiling. They were ranked number 1 coming off the win over Laverne, and you guys handled them pretty easily, jumped out early and held on to win by 20. How big of a result was that for you to give you the confidence to be where you are right now?
Huge, really. I mean, coming out of, we still had a whole bunch of kids trying to learn how to play 8-man football. And, one of the things that we battle here, we have kids that sometimes are maybe not as tough. Some people would think, whether it's because we're the Bible Academy or private school or whatever. And we just challenged them early on. So we're going to play some really good teams, and you guys are going to have to decide that you're going to be tough or this is going to be a rough year. And honestly, Tom, that week. We knew how good Ceiling was. We knew going to Ceiling was going to be really, really tough. They beat Laverne, the week before. That was a crazy game. And, I was extremely proud of our kids because it was a battle.
You got, it looks like Balco Forgan in the first round, who was a state finalist a year ago. And not only your district, but that district is just really super tough. So and maybe just getting out of the first round is a big accomplishment because 8-man football in Northwest Oklahoma is so loaded.
Yes. Oh yeah. When the districts first came out, I was like, please B3, please be in B3, B4, just not B2, because B2, you just know I was out there for 4 years. And those guys, records don't mean anything because they played great teams all year long. And we were sitting here thinking maybe probably Hollis. And then with the points and Laverne taking care of business, it changed on us. So we're looking forward to having a home playoff game, second one in a long time, and the other one was COVID because, we finished 4th and got to host one. But no, it's pretty exciting around here. First time that OBA's ever gone 10-0.
Well, another reason why it might be exciting for you, and I'll bring this up, as the PA announcer said tonight, you hung half 100 on life tonight. 50th birthday for Coach Kayott. He's 50 today, and I saw a picture from you in your glory days of you with some water skis, wearing a pink tank top.
Oh, God.
You were looking good.
Seriously? Oh, man. Yeah, Bodie's dad actually sent that to me today and had a comment that I can't say on live stream. But anyway, yeah, that's I guess be careful what you do when you're young. So
well,
hey Chris, how many rattlesnakes you ever caught and skinned at the O'Keene Festival?
None. I do not know. I tell a funny story about how I got invited one time, but I think the guys had been drinking that were inviting me to go snake hunting. So no.
I've been to the O'Keene Festival. It's fantastic. Chris, congratulations on the season. We'll be following you through the playoffs. We'll check in again with you soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Chris Kayott, I did a 50th birthday. That's
they actually on the field tonight. They had the 50 painted, black and their school colors, and it was to honor him, which I thought was kind of cool as well. Plus, they did have military night, and they honored their seniors as well. Had their seniors' numbers painted on the field. But yeah, happy 50th birthday to a coach. He knows how to win an 8-man football. He's won a gold ball or so out at Laverne before he came to OBA, and he's really built that program up.
Well, let's welcome in Coach Dale Fisher of the Crescent Tigers. And I believe this is his 14th season with Crescent, and the Tigers had a really good year this season, and they end up district champions, won a big one, as you mentioned last night, the War on 74 against Cashion, and they get that top seed in a very, very difficult Class A bracket. Coach Fisher, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mark? How are you, Tom?
Good. Doing great. Thanks for joining us on a Friday night. We appreciate it.
You bet.
I had to feel good last night.
You are very you guys are very intertwined there between Cashion and Crescent. It's a pretty heated rivalry. And they were retiring Brexton Green's jersey last night, the young man that played for them, and went to Emporia State and passed away in an accident this year at Grand Lake. That had to be kind of a tough situation for you and your guys, knowing what a great kid he was, to have to go in there and play in that emotion-packed environment last night.
It was, Mark. And, Coach Shackelford had called me earlier in the week and said, they would like our team to be out there with them. The War on 74, as they call it, is obviously a big rivalry between, Cashion and Crescent. And, but the other thing is, we talked about, there's a lot of things that are bigger than football. And, that was one of them. And a lot of our kids know a lot of their kids over there. And so we said, yeah, absolutely. We'll be out there. But, it was a great environment. It's a big game, obviously, for both schools. We've been on the short side of it a lot lately, but it was good to get one last night for sure, to seal the district championship for us. I thought our kids played really good, and I was super proud of them.
Coach, I was calling the game 10 years ago, 2012, when Ty Reesner hit Nate Lee in the back left corner of the end zone to beat you guys 36-29. And the way that game ended last night reminded me a lot of 10 years ago.
Yep, there was a lot of memories that came back from that. It was almost, about the same spot on the field, same corner of the end zone. It just, we ended up happening being us. And I'm glad it was us. But yeah, those are, we've had some really tight games with Cashion over the years. Like I said, we've just come up short, but our kids, we got a good team this year, and they're fighting hard and learning how to, figuring out how to win games for the most part. We've had some good teams at Crescent in years past, but, this team here is probably the most gritty team that we've had, finding ways to win in close games, especially in a super tough district like we had. So, it's been a good year for us.
Everybody wants to stay there in a tough district. I mean, and you guys, it was interesting because you had to schedule 2 extra games when you had 2 teams drop earlier this season, Coach Fisher, and you could tell by your scores how tough your team was because they were fighting it out in low-scoring games and just playing really tough. But, man, you're right. Every week there were so many close games in this district. You got to feel like getting in the playoffs is that you know what you've got. You don't have to worry about getting in the game in the next couple of weeks and thinking, well, I hope we don't falter against a team that's going to be competitive against us.
Right. We've been in battles all year long, and that's what we told our kids. We said, our district is so tough that, a good team is going to be left out, unfortunately. And, last year that was us. And we've been battle tested, and we've gone to the fourth quarter in many of those games and figured out a way to pull most of them out. But, it's just we were kind of at last year we didn't have a great season, and we were kind of our kids were kind of at a crossroads, really. We told them, we can go one of two ways. And I'm glad they chose the path they did this year. They've really worked hard all summer, and they kind of knew what the stakes were. And we knew it was a tough district, but, going forward, being such a tough district, I think it helps us going forward in the, especially in the next couple of rounds, we can make it that far, to be in those tight games like we're going to see.
I want to ask you, I want to go back to last night's game. I want to talk about
Sure.
that touchdown again, because it was 4th down and 10 at the cash and 20-yard line. And I think you guys, if I remember, you had some time to think about it. It was a timeout or something happened, I think, right before that 4th down play. Talk about what was going on as you get. That right there, you win the game, you're district champion. You lose that game, you're going on the road. Talk about the thought process.
Right. Well, it was a crazy halftime. My defensive coordinator, Coach Booth, who came back this year to help us out on the defensive side, at halftime after they retired Brexton's number, we were talking about it in the locker room, and our kids, of course, they're excited, but, they're nervous, and it's a tight game. And the funny story is, we had told them just a few weeks before at Hinton, we were minute and something left, and Hinton has the ball, and it looks like all hope was lost. And we told them, we said, you just got to believe, and something's going to happen. Ball's going to hit the ground. We're going to get a fumble, and we're going to go score. And we did. It just so happened that we did. And last night, kind of the same thing. Coach Booth told them at halftime. He said, "Hey guys, the score of this game." And at that time it was 14-7. He said, the final score is going to be 28-21. We're going to beat them. And the crazy thing is, that's exactly what it ended up, and nothing helps for your kids to believe in you and your coaches more than saying something like that and then it going out and happening. So that's kind of the way it was, they're on that 4th down. We said, hey, remember what the score is going to be. This is what the score is going to be. And so we just happened to, go an empty set and get our little tailback, CJ Wilson, out there wide. And we just simply, said, hey, we got to take a shot to the end zone. This is it. This is all or nothing. We got to go score. And the cool thing about it is I think we had converted a couple of 4th downs, 4th and short, earlier in that drive to kind of keep the drive going. And, the kids just believed, and, luckily had a good play call, and, we went up and caught the ball, and, it ended the ball game. So we were lucky, but I'll take it.
It looks like Dibble is going to be the first round opponent, and then potentially a rematch with Moreland, depending on what happens in their side of things. You guys played them to open up the season and beat them in a 7-0 game. So what do you think of where you guys are placed in the bracket?
Right. I mean, I like where we're sitting in the bracket. Obviously we've played Moreland before, and it ended up being a 7-0 game. We had a couple of goal line stands in that game. Our defense came up big. So hopefully, we can get by Dibble. Dibble's a physical team. They're a tough team. They come from a district down there with Ringling and Stratford and Wynnewood and those guys. So they've been through some battles as well. And if we can get through this first game and hopefully get another, matchup, hopefully we can go through and see Moreland again. And, it won't be easy, but, it's something that our kids know they've done before. So, hopefully it's a game that we can come out and compete in and play well and keep moving on.
Coach Fisher, we appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck, and we hopefully we'll talk to you soon down the road here.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for coming on. It's been a Friday night with us. That's Gerald Fisher, the head coach of the Crescent Tigers down there. Could be a potential Crescent Gore matchup maybe in the quarters. So here's one more look at Class A. Let's put up Class B. We'll get into some of the 8-man. Now we'll take a look at where OBA is. And the Class B bracket, just again, this one is another 32-team bracket. It's going to be super tough. All kinds of great teams in this one.
When I look at it, you look at Laverne at the top of the left side of the bracket, and the right side it seems like there's a lot more ranked teams on the right side than his left side. Laverne's really got they've got a really good chance to make a really good run, like they do every year. But you look on the right side of the bracket, Dewar, number 1 in the state at the top of the bracket on the right side, number 2 OBA, number 3 Ceiling, number 5 Turpin. Before their loss, this was last week's rankings that I saw. So basically 4 of the top 5 teams in the state are on the right side of that bracket, which means we're going to see some really good matchups a little earlier on the right side of the bracket. But Laverne tonight taking care of Balco Forgan 54-8, the final score in that ball game. And as we talked about, OBA rolling over in the weather tonight at Commitment Field, rolling over Pond Creek. Hunter, Turpin, I've got it. Turpin was rolling there for a while, but they struggled. They struggled a little bit here down the stretch. They finished number 2 in. Take it back. Actually, they end up finishing 4th, right? Because does Hollis get the number 2 spot? I think that's right.
Hollis is the number 2. Yeah, they moved up.
Hollis is the number 2. So, boy, that's a tough district when Balco Forgan is the number 4 seed. But going to be a lot of fun. Don't forget about Regent Prep. I mean, Regent Prep and Laverne, I think, could be a great semifinal matchup on the left side of that bracket. But then again, you're going to have a Balco Forgan that's going to play Regent Prep in the 3rd round, the quarterfinals. And keep in mind, those 3rd round games are now they can do neutral sites. That's something new they've pulled out, I believe, this year, last couple of years. So it would be Regent Prep and a Balco Forgan probably playing an Enid or something like that, which would be good for me. It might be a broadcast I get a chance to do. But yeah, Class B is going to be a lot of fun.
One game I see in there that could be unbelievable would be OBA and Coach Kayak going against Dewar in that 3rd round game. That would be something else.
I saw Dewar. I've seen them both. I saw Dewar when they beat Cherokee back. I think it was week 2, week 3, something like that. Wow, they really impressed me. They jumped all over Cherokee and had the game over shortly after halftime. Big, physical, just a really, really good team. And you're exactly right. That's the one thing. OBA and Coach Chaos said, they're not real big and maybe not as physical as a team like Dewar might be. That's going to be a huge challenge. But I tell you what, I've seen OBA enough this year that I like their chances against about anybody. And, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's one thing about the large bracket like you have in Class B. That is going to be a gauntlet just to win a gold ball. I mean, you earn your gold ball in those brackets like Class B has.
All right, let's take a look at Class C, and then we'll go through the brackets one more time. Waynoka, the Railroaders, the Rails as they call them, they have been crushing people this season. They're really good. Tipton is down in the southwest corner of the state, and they have not been beaten. Timberlake played Waynoka earlier in the year and lost a tough one. Maud is also undefeated, and Wesleyan Christian, those are the district champions there. So I think we see some really, really good semifinal matchups here.
Yeah, Waynoka, that win over Timberlake, that showed me a lot. Those two schools are about 20 miles apart, and Waynoka also had a really big win early on over Balco Forgan. I think that was week 1-0 week, something like that. That really showed me a lot. Waynoka at the top of that bracket. You look at the ranked teams, and once again, the right side of that bracket is a little bit tougher because you've got Timberlake, the 2 seed. Tipton is the 3 seed, or the 3 ranked team. Maud is ranked 4th in the state. Wilson's ranked 6th. So you've got most of the higher ranked teams in the state playing on the right side of that bracket. But Waynoka, you've got a team on the left side of the bracket. After Waynoka at number 1, you've got a team ranked 5th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. So you've got to think that Waynoka's chances to get to that championship game are pretty darn good, but it's going to be a dogfight on the right side of that bracket, the bottom half of that bracket.
Okay, we'll look at a couple of these, and then that'll be it for us for tonight. We really appreciate you joining us, and look forward to covering high school football throughout the playoffs here. I want to put up the Class 2A bracket and tell you that one big game tonight, Idabel and Eufaula, that's still going on. You can check it on the Skordle app right now. 9 minutes to go. 21-17. It's been back and forth all night. Idabel has the lead right now over the Ironheads, 21-17. That's one of the biggest games that we've got out there yet still to be determined at this point. So the winner will go on the left side of the bracket. The loser goes on the right side of the bracket. And, just to say the loser of this game, you put yourself in that gauntlet of a potential matchup with Washington in the playoffs, along with Rejoice Christian there in the second round. That's just the loser of this game is going to go to a spot they don't want to be in.
I want to make a comment, one more comment on the Class C bracket, because I want to give a shout out, and I'm not too sure. We don't know if they've won. The one game we didn't know was the Oaks-Copan game.
Yeah.
And the winner of that game makes the playoff as the number 4 seed in District 3 to take on Maud. Copan, they didn't have enough kids to play football multiple times over the past few years. They didn't play at all in 2018. They're 6-28 in their last 3 years. And for a team like Copan, who has struggled with numbers, I've had to forfeit games over the past few years and have a chance to make the playoffs. I shouldn't say that I'm kind of rooting for Copan. We don't have a final on that game yet, but would like to see them make the playoffs.
Yeah, and that one's just getting started. So very nice. Tom, I enjoyed it. Great job.
I am ready for the road to the gold ball. Let's go.
Yeah, I want to thank Cisco, who's helping engineer the broadcast tonight, working with us on a Friday evening. Thanks to all the guests that joined us: Bill Hasten of the Tulsa World, J.L. Fisher, the head coach of the Crescent Tigers, also Chris Kayott, head coach of the Oklahoma Bible Academy, and Brad Ballard, the head coach at Tuttle's. So we'll continue to cover football here in the Sports Animal and at Skordle, and look forward to the next month and handing out some state championships. So for Tom, I'm Mark. For Cisco, we'll see you again down the road here on the Sports Animal Skordle Bracket Release Show.